Adam, God, and Eden. Three names bound together by a secret the world has long forgotten. From the Garden of Eden to the fall of Adam and Eve, countless voices have told the tale. But what if the story we were given hides a different truth? What if Eden was not merely a garden, but a lost paradise, where God's hidden plan was written into the very soul of humanity? For centuries, people have wondered, why did God create two creations in Genesis? One, humanity made in his image, and another, the single man called Adam. Was Adam a priest, a king, or a divine prototype carrying the destiny of every man and woman? And why was he banished from Eden after eating the forbidden fruit? Was it a curse, or the first step toward awakening? In this video, you will uncover the hidden Genesis story, the forbidden knowledge, and the mysterious motives of God that shaped the fate of mankind. You will see how Eden connects not only to the Bible, but to legends across the world, echoes of a lost world, a lost paradise, and a lost connection between man and God. Tell me what you believe. Was Adam's exile a punishment or a protection? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if these truths stir your spirit, if you feel the light of revelation calling you, give this video a like. Subscribe for more hidden secrets of the Bible, and join us as we journey deeper into the mystery of Adam, God, and Eden. Two creations, a hidden contradiction. In the very beginning, the Bible tells us in Genesis 1 that God created mankind in his image, male and female together, a vast and glorious creation. Yet in Genesis 2, the story shifts, and we see the Lord forming one single man, Adam, from the dust of the earth, breathing into him the breath of life. This contradiction has puzzled scholars for centuries, and many believers have struggled to understand what it means. Was there one creation of humanity, or two? Why would the sacred text give us two versions of the same event, unless it was pointing toward something deeper? This is not just a detail, it is a doorway into the mystery of Eden, God, and Adam's true role in the story of mankind. Some traditions say the first creation in Genesis 1 was of all humanity, a universal image of God spread across every people. Genesis 2 then focuses on Adam, the chosen figure who would stand as the priest and caretaker of the Garden of Eden. Others, more mystical, whisper that perhaps there were two different kinds of humans, the first more celestial, radiant with God's breath, and the second more earthly, tied to flesh and soil. Could it be that Adam was not merely the first man, but a prototype, a divine experiment, carrying within him the destiny of all who would follow? Think of how many times in life we see double beginnings. A marriage has the day of the wedding, and then the real beginning, the first night in the new home. A nation has its founding on paper, and then its birth in blood and struggle. In the same way, perhaps the Bible is showing us that creation itself had layers, that the story of humanity began more than once, echoing the depth of God's design. The first chapter of Genesis reveals humanity in the image of God, but the second chapter unveils Adam, chosen, planted in Eden, the focal point of divine mystery. This tension between the two stories teaches a lesson for us today. Sometimes in our lives, we too live in two creations. The life we show the world and the life we live inside. The person others see and the person God knows. And often, the real transformation happens not in the first creation, but in the second. when God breathes His Spirit into the dust of our struggles and makes something new. That is what Adam represents, not just a beginning of flesh, but the awakening of the Spirit. This raises questions that stir the soul. Was Adam a man set apart from the rest of humanity, or was he a mirror held up to all of us, reminding us that God's story is both cosmic and personal at once? These questions are not meant to confuse, but to draw us deeper into the mystery of Eden, into the secret connection between man and God. Now we step forward beyond the question of creation itself to the sacred ground of Eden. Eden, more than a garden. When most people hear the word Eden, they picture a lush paradise filled with trees, rivers, and animals in harmony. But in the Bible, Eden is described with imagery far greater than a simple garden. It is the place where heaven and earth touched, the first holy temple where man walked with God. Imagine a sanctuary so radiant that its rivers flowed out to the whole world, a place where every step was sacred ground. Eden was not just the first home of Adam and Eve, it was a symbol of divine order, the blueprint of creation itself. Ancient Jewish tradition tells us Eden was more like a cosmic temple, a dwelling of glory where God's presence rested. In the book of Ezekiel, Eden is described as the garden of God, adorned with precious stones and guarded by cherubim. The book of Enoch speaks of Eden as a place beyond the veil of earth, a realm closer to heaven than to soil. These writings remind us that Eden was never meant to be just a physical location, but a meeting point of heaven and humanity. Think about the places in your life where heaven and earth seem to touch. For some, it is a quiet morning with sunlight breaking through the trees. For others, it is in the embrace of family, or in the quiet prayer whispered when no one is listening. Eden was that on a cosmic scale, the place where God's presence could be felt with every breath. And just as Adam was placed there to tend and to guard, each of us is called to cultivate our own Eden, the sacred garden of the heart. There is also a hidden danger in seeing Eden as only a perfect paradise. If we imagine it as a place of ease, we miss its deeper meaning. Eden was a place of responsibility. Adam was not simply placed in the garden to enjoy it. He was commanded to work it, to guard it, to live as a priest before the Creator. Eden was not the end of man's journey, but the beginning of his calling. And when he failed, the paradise was lost, and history itself was changed. This shows us that Eden is more than a memory of what once was. It is a mirror of what we are meant to seek. A life where our choices align with God's will, where we see creation not as something to be consumed, but as something sacred to be cared for. When Adam failed, we all fell. But when we rise, we taste again the fruit of Eden, not of rebellion, but of harmony with God. And here lies the greatest mystery. If Eden was a cosmic temple, if Adam was more than just the first man, then his exile was not simply a punishment. It was the tearing of heaven from earth, the breaking of the connection between God and man. That is why so many cultures remember a paradise lost, a golden age vanished, a time when humans walked with the divine. Eden is written in our collective memory, across the myths and stories of every people, because deep within us we all remember the place where we once belonged. So the question remains, why would God create such a sacred space only to drive humanity out of it? Was it anger, judgment, or something more hidden? As we move forward, we will step into that mystery, searching for the secret motives of God and the forbidden knowledge that changed everything. Adam, priest, king, or prototype. From the dust of the earth, God shaped Adam, and from his own breath he gave him life. But Adam was never meant to be an ordinary man. He was entrusted with roles that reached far beyond survival. He was a priest, called to guard the sacred space of Eden as if it were a holy temple. He was a king, given authority to name the animals and rule over creation with wisdom. And he was a prototype, the first image of what humanity could become, part earth, part spirit, destined to walk between heaven and soil. Imagine standing in Eden, surrounded by beauty no human eye has seen since, and being told, "This is your garden, your temple, your kingdom." That is the weight Adam carried, and it is the same weight reflected in every one of us. When you step into your own responsibilities, caring for a family, building a dream, protecting what is sacred, you are walking in Adam's footsteps. The tragedy is that Adam faltered, and in his failure we all inherited the fracture. But within that story lies hope. The lesson is that even when the first man stumbled, God's breath never left humanity. We too are called to rise as priests who guard truth, kings who rule with kindness, and prototypes who remind the world of its divine image. Think of leaders in history who carried this mantle. Some used their authority to heal, others to destroy. Adam's story warns us that leadership without obedience collapses, power without humility corrupts, and priesthood without devotion turns hollow. The Bible whispers this truth, so we may learn. Our greatness lies not in control, but in harmony with God's will. And just as Adam's destiny shaped all who followed, our choices ripple through generations yet to come. What kind of prototype will you be? Comment your thoughts, because the debate over Adam's true role is far from settled. And from Adam's identity, we move to his greatest test, the tree, the forbidden fruit, and the moment when all of creation shifted forever. The forbidden knowledge, curse or calling. In the heart of Eden stood two trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. One promised eternity, the other promised wisdom, and Adam and Eve were told to stay away from the fruit that would open their eyes. But the serpent spoke, the fruit was taken, and humanity crossed a threshold that could never be undone. Was this a curse, or was it a calling? For centuries, believers have been told it was the fall, the moment humanity lost its innocence. Yet in the shadows of ancient texts, another interpretation emerges. What if this was the beginning of human awakening? What if God's warning was not fear, but timing, an understanding that humanity was not yet ready for the weight of knowledge? When Adam and Eve ate, their eyes were opened, their souls stretched, and they stepped into a new reality of pain, freedom, and responsibility. Think of Prometheus in Greek myth, who stole fire from the gods to give it to mankind. That fire brought both suffering and civilization, curse and blessing intertwined. Eden's forbidden fruit feels the same. It was both rebellion and revelation, both downfall and doorway. And every one of us knows what it is to taste our own forbidden fruit, the choice that changes everything, the moment we cannot take back, the pain that teaches us who we are meant to become. The Bible does not leave us without hope. The very act that expelled Adam from paradise set into motion the promise of redemption. Knowledge came with sorrow, but also with growth. humanity lost its innocence, but gained the chance to become truly godlike, not in pride, but in love, in wisdom, in the ability to choose good even when evil whispers. The lesson here is powerful. The things we call curses may sometimes be disguised callings. The failures that break us may also shape us. The forbidden fruit in your own life, the mistake, the betrayal, the regret, can either bind you to despair or call you toward transformation. Just as Adam's exile led to the story of salvation, your hardest trials may become the soil where your future blossoms. So when we ask, was Eden lost forever, or was Eden planted inside of us, the answer lies in how we live today. We cannot return to the first garden, but we can cultivate new ones, in our homes, in our hearts, in the choices that bring light instead of darkness. This is not just Adam's story, it is ours, written into every decision we make. And as we move forward, we must face the ultimate question. Why did God close the gates of Eden, and what secret motives hid behind that act of exile? God's hidden motives. When Adam and Eve reached for the forbidden fruit, the judgment of God came swiftly. They were driven out of Eden, the gates closed, guarded by a flaming sword. But pause for a moment. Why would a loving Creator who breathed life into Adam, who walked with humanity in the cool of the garden, suddenly cast them into exile? Was it only punishment, or could it have been protection? This is the mystery that runs like fire through the pages of Scripture. Some say God feared humanity would reach for the tree of life while corrupted by disobedience, and so he closed the gates to protect them from eternal brokenness. Others believe it was a test, a refining of humanity, forcing us to learn wisdom through pain. And still others see it as a story of divine mercy, God setting limits not to destroy us, but to save us from ourselves. Think of a parent who hides sharp knives from a child, not out of cruelty, but out of love. The exile from Eden was a heartbreak, yet perhaps it was also the only way forward. In life, we often feel shut out of our own Eden moments, the dreams that crumble, the relationships that fall apart, the doors slammed shut. We cry out, thinking it is punishment. But what if those closed doors were God's hidden hand of mercy, shaping us for something greater? The lesson of Eden whispers to us, exile is not the end, it is a beginning. When Adam left Eden, history began. From his tears came nations, from his dust came prophets, from his line came redemption itself. This is why the story of God's hidden motives is not meant to break us, it is meant to heal us. The next time you stand before a closed gate, ask yourself, is this a punishment or a protection? Share your thoughts in the comments, because the question still burns in the heart of every seeker. Traces across cultures. Though Eden may seem like a story confined to the Bible, echoes of a lost paradise resound across the world. In Islamic tradition, the garden is described as Jannah, a place of unimaginable beauty where Adam and Hawa first walked. In Greek mythology, there was the Golden Age, a time of harmony when humans lived close to the divine until pride brought ruin. In the East, whispers of Shangri-La describe a hidden land of peace, untouched by sorrow. Even in Native American legends, there are stories of a first land, pure and sacred, before corruption entered the world. Why do so many cultures, separated by oceans and centuries, carry fragments of the same memory? Perhaps because Eden was not just a location, but an imprint in the human soul. Deep within us lies the ache for a lost paradise, a longing for harmony with creation, for peace with God. That is why these myths and scriptures align. They are humanity's collective cry for the place we once knew. This longing appears in our personal lives too. Every time you stand in a quiet forest and feel a presence greater than yourself, you are tasting Eden. Every time you hold someone you love and sense eternity in a single moment, you are glimpsing the paradise we lost. Eden is not only behind us, it is inside us and ahead of us, calling us home. The lesson here is both humbling and healing. We are not alone in our longing. The whole human family carries it. The story of Adam and Eden is not one people's story, but the world's. And maybe that is why God allowed Eden to be remembered across cultures, so that no one could say they had not felt its echo. The secret connection is this: Eden belongs to all of us. And so, as we leave behind the myths and memories of paradise, we are drawn to the ultimate question. If Eden is written in our soul, and if God's motives were hidden in mercy, what does this mean for our future? The answer lies in the conclusion, where Adam's story becomes our own. From the dust of the earth Adam was formed, and in the Garden of Eden he walked with God. That story has been told countless times, yet the deeper connection, the one hidden in plain sight, still burns with mystery. The exile from Eden was not only about punishment, it was about purpose. Humanity was never meant to remain in a paradise untouched by struggle. The garden was the beginning, not the end. And when Adam fell, we fell with him, but within that fall was the seed of every redemption that would follow. That is why the story of Adam and Eve, the Garden of Eden, the forbidden fruit, and the secret knowledge continues to echo across generations. It is our story, the mirror of our own lives. Think of your own life. How many times have you tasted your own forbidden fruit? The decision you thought would destroy you, the mistake that left scars you believed would never heal. Yet here you are, breathing, alive, carrying wisdom you did not have before. The exile from your personal Eden might have felt like a curse, but it was also a calling. Just like Adam's journey, it was a step toward awakening. That is the power of God's hidden plan. He turns ashes into light, brokenness into blessing, exile into destiny. When the Bible says God placed cherubim at the east of Eden with a flaming sword, it was not just a tale of loss. It was a reminder that some gates close so that greater paths can open. In your life, there are doors you prayed would stay open, gardens you never wanted to leave. Yet sometimes the loss is the gift. Sometimes the heartbreak is the beginning of your healing. That is the lesson Adam left us. Even when paradise is gone, God's presence remains. Across cultures, across time, humanity remembers Eden, the golden age of Greece, the Shangri-La of the East, the paradise of ancient legends. All of them echo the longing in our souls for the place where heaven touched earth. Why does every culture remember a lost paradise? Because Eden is written into the DNA of humanity. Deep inside you is the memory of walking with God, of harmony with creation, of love unbroken. And that is why the ache in your heart for something more is not weakness. It is the whisper of Eden calling you home. The connection between Adam, God, and Eden is not just history, it is prophecy. It tells us that our destiny is not endless exile, but restoration. The Bible points to a new heaven and a new earth, where the tree of life stands again and the gates of Eden are reopened. This is not fantasy. It is the promise that the story ends not in loss, but in redemption. You and I are part of that story. Every act of love, every moment of faith, every choice to seek God is a step back toward the garden. But this truth also demands something of us. Adam was placed in Eden to guard it, to work it, to protect its holiness. In the same way, we are called to guard the gardens entrusted to us, our families, our communities, our faith. If Adam's failure echoes in all of us, then our obedience can also echo, creating ripples that last for generations. What you choose today matters. It is not only about you, it is about the children who will walk the paths you build, the future that will inherit the legacy of your choices. And so I ask you, was Adam's exile truly a curse, or was it a hidden act of mercy that opened the way for growth? Do you believe humanity was meant to remain innocent forever, or did God design us to rise, to fall, and to rise again stronger than before? Share your thoughts in the comments, because this question has burned for thousands of years, and your voice deserves to be part of the conversation. If this story of Adam, God, and Eden has touched your heart, if it has reminded you of your own struggles and your own longings, then I invite you to walk with me further. Subscribe to this channel, like this video, and let us continue uncovering the hidden secrets of the Bible together. And if you feel this journey has given light to your soul, or helped you find hope in the middle of dark days, I welcome you to support this work with even the smallest gesture. Every bit of encouragement, every kind word, every share is a spark that allows me to keep creating and sharing these messages of truth. It is not about money. It is about energy, about life, about lifting each other up as we search for meaning together. Remember this: the Garden of Eden was never fully lost. It lives in your spirit, in your longing for love, in your hunger for truth, in your desire to be whole. It lives in the memory of Adam's breath, in the echo of God's footsteps walking beside humanity. And one day, it will be restored. Until then, carry the garden with you. Speak life, guard the sacred, and walk with courage. For the connection between Adam, God, and Eden is not only a secret lost to history, it is a promise written in eternity, waiting for you to claim it.